Today on Rappler, illegal foreign workers in Saudi Arabia leave or legalize their stay before an amnesty program ends. The Philippines says China's military buildup in the South China Sea threatens peace. And Associate Justice Mariano del Castillo remains the wealthiest Supreme Court justice, while Marvic Leonen is the poorest. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Illegal foreign workers in Saudi Arabia rush to take advantage of an amnesty program ending Wednesday. The amnesty allows illegal workers to stay or to return to their home countries without prosecution. In April, Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah announces the amnesty, granting foreign workers 3 months to either regularize their residency or to leave the oil-rich Gulf monarchy to avoid being blacklisted or jailed and fined. More than 1.5 million illegal foreign workers took advantage of the amnesty during the first 2 months. There are an estimated 2 million illegal foreign workers living in the kingdom. Of these, 180,000 have left. 200,000 unregistered workers were also expelled at the start of the year under new regulations to stamp out illegal immigration. Many workers are still lining up outside their embassies to obtain documents to either leave Saudi Arabia or legalize their status before Wednesday. The new labor ministry regulations aim to reduce the number of foreign workers to create jobs for millions of unemployed Saudi Arabians. Facing penalties if they stay longer in Saudi Arabia, 25 Filipinos will return to the Philippines on Tuesday, bringing to 800 the number of Filipinos sent home from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia set Wednesday as a deadline for undocumented workers to legalize their status. Violators face up to 2 years in prison and fines of at least 100,000 rial or $27,000 US. In a press conference, Philippine Foreign Affairs spokesman Raul Hernandez says the government is asking Saudi to extend its July 3 deadline to allow it to repatriate more Filipinos. Hernandez says as of June 27, up to 304 Filipinos remain at the camp near the Philippine consulate in Jeddah. Migrant workers group Migrante criticizes the government for supposedly failing to repatriate stranded overseas Filipino workers. The Philippines accuses China Sunday of a massive military buildup in a disputed South China Sea, known in the Philippines as the West Philippine Sea. In a statement at a regional security forum in Brunei, Philippine Foreign Secretary Albert Del Rosario says there is a, quote, massive presence of Chinese military and paramilitary ships at the disputed Scarborough Shoal and Second Thomas Shoal. Del Rosario says the Chinese presence at the islets are, quote, threats to efforts to maintain maritime peace and stability in the region. Del Rosario adds, the Chinese actions violate a 2002 pact where rival claimants to the sea pledged not to take any actions that may increase tensions. China's claim to nearly all of the South China Sea is contested by the Philippines, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, and Taiwan. Tensions build up in recent years over China's increasingly assertive military and diplomatic tactics to stake its claims. On Saturday, the Chinese state-owned People's Daily published a commentary warning the Philippines its defiance could lead to aggressive Chinese action. It says, quote, if the Philippines continues to provoke China, a counterstrike will be hard to avoid. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations has been urging China to agree on a legally binding code of conduct on the South China Sea. Consul General of Japan Kaizo Takewaka talks about Philippine-Japanese relations as the two countries forge closer ties. Last week, the Philippines says it's planning to allow Japan greater access to its military bases. This comes in the middle of increasing tensions with China over the South China Sea. Takewaka says Japan wants a peaceful resolution of this issue.
We support the approach of the Philippines to submit the case for the sake of the rule of law. It is because fair and justice.
Right. Japan also announced it's relaxing visa rules for some Southeast Asian countries in a bid to boost tourism. Takewaka says the relaxed visa rules are part of Japan's growth strategy.
As I said, that the growth strategy includes three components, three plans. One is revitalizing Japanese industry.
Yes.
And second is creating new industries like healthcare or insurance, because we are aging society. And third relevant topic is tapping global market, tapping into global market.
Right.
Here we would like to have more tourists visiting Japan.
Takawaka was also involved in the peace process in Mindanao as an observer. But although talks between the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front deadlock over disagreements on wealth and power sharing, Takawaka says he is, quote, cautiously optimistic about the negotiations.
After the signing of the framework agreement, they already passed the point of no return. I don't think that they can simply wipe off the framework agreement.
Progress. And yet, you're not worried about this. Former President Joseph Estrada moves to a new seat of power, the country's capital, Manila. The man convicted of plunder now promises to fight corruption. Ayi Makaraig reports.
Walang kaibigan, walang kumpare, walang kamag-anak o anak.
He made history as one of the most popular presidents to enter Malacanang and the first to be ousted, detained, and convicted. Now, former President Joseph Estrada defies political death to become mayor of the country's capital. The popular movie star turned politician acknowledges his new date with history as he takes his oath as Manila's chief executive.
For the first time, Manila will have an ex-convict as your mayor. And I feel that I'm in good company with President Nelson Mandela of South Africa, Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, Aung San Suu Kyi of Myanmar, and are all the late Senator Ninoy Aquino, who was also convicted by a military court.
After winning a bruising race against ally-turned-rival Alfredo Lim, Estrada says he will bring back the glory of a decaying Manila. In his first 100 days, Estrada sets his sights on cleaning up the police force. The man convicted for allegedly receiving illegal gambling payoffs is now the one running after cops on the take.
Tapos na ang maliligayang araw ninyo. Tapos na, tapos na, tapos na. I promise you, the fight against corruption will be the centerpiece of my administration. We will ensure full transparency on all revenue collections, disbursement and expenditures of the city. This is a commitment and conviction of your ex-convict mayor.
Estrada focuses on peace and order, urging businessmen to install CCTV to help fight crime. In a city notorious for garbage and floods, he marks his first day on the job with a cleanup drive. Estrada attracts supporters like tour guide Carlos Celdran, his new tourism consultant. But he also has his share of critics. Protesters greet him on his first day at work, criticizing him for saying vendors cause traffic and flooding. He proposes a night market to keep them out of the streets. Estrada knows his new job puts his popularity and political will to the test.
Ngayon, ikot nga ako pagkatapos ng eleksyon. Parang ayoko na umupo. Ang dami ng problema. Tapos nakita ko pala ito sa Esteros. Ang dami mga arito. Mahirap ito. Para sa mahirap, pagkatapos pagkatatanggalin ko lahat yun, hinahapin ako mahirap.
With only 3 years to transform a city called the Gates of Hell, Estrada calls on both supporters and critics to give him and Manila yet another chance. From president to mayor, Joseph Estrada vows to fight the same evil he himself was accused of, corruption. In his political rebirth, he also promises to give new life to the country's capital. But great expectations and limited time are the challenges Asyong Salonga faces in his new role. Ayi Makaraig, Rappler.
Citizens group Right to Know Right Now Coalition files their own version of the Freedom of Information Bill on the first day of the 16th Congress. On Monday, the group files the bill through an indirect initiative, a mechanism under the law that allows recognized citizens groups to file their own bills in Congress. Under the proposed bill, Filipinos will have access to information under the control of a government agency. The coalition's version does not contain a right of reply provision, which requires media to provide space for government officials affected by documents accessed through the bill. The coalition says it decided to file its own version of the bill after it only managed to pass the committee level in the last Congress. The Supreme Court releases the latest statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth, the SAL-Ns for 2012, of its 15 magistrates. Associate Justice Mariano del Castillo remains the richest since the court first released the justices' SAL-Ns last year. He declared a net worth of 110 million pesos for 2012, an increase of more than 838,000 pesos from his net worth of 109 million pesos for 2011. Latest appointee Marvic Leonen has the lowest declared net worth with 1.6 million pesos. The Supreme Court justices released their SAL-Ns to the public in 2011 after former Chief Justice Renato Corona was removed from his office for failing to disclose 183 million in pesos and dollar bank deposits. The U.S. Supreme Court rejects an emergency bid to reinstate California's ban on same-sex marriage. In a Sunday Los Angeles Times report, a lawyer for the gay couples who tried to lift the ban says he received word the justice handling the petition denied the bid. On Friday, California's 9th Circuit Court of Appeals lifts the ban imposed under the Proposition 8 ballot measure. Days earlier, the U.S. Supreme Court repealed Proposition 8, paving the way for same-sex marriage in California to resume. But supporters of Proposition 8 vowed to have the ban reinforced. ProtectMarriage.com, which backed legal efforts to uphold it, says the 9th Circuit Court should have waited at least 25 days after the Supreme Court ruling. Gay rights groups and same-sex marriage supporters, though, praised the Supreme Court ruling. On Friday, Human Rights Campaign President Chad Griffin says thousands upon thousands of lives are about to change for the better, for the good. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 2, millions flood the streets of Cairo Saturday, demanding the resignation of President Mohamed Morsi on the anniversary of his turbulent first year in power. Anti-Morsi protests are also held in the coastal city of Alexandria, the canal cities of Suez and Port Said, and in Zagasig, the president's hometown. Morsi's government insists dialogue is the only way out of the crisis. Morsi is Egypt's first freely elected president, catapulted to power by the 2011 uprising. His election ended 3 decades of authoritarian Mubarak rule. His opponents accuse him of betraying the revolution by concentrating power in Islamist hands and of sending the economy into freefall. At number 5, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, urges Indonesia to ratify a treaty to prevent forest fires, which regularly inflict smog on neighboring countries. Indonesia is the only ASEAN member which has not ratified the treaty. Thick smoke from the fires on Sumatra Island sends air pollution known as haze to record levels in Singapore and Malaysia last month. On Sunday, the two countries raised the problem at an ASEAN foreign ministers meeting in Brunei. And at number 7, the European Union, Paris, and Berlin demand answers from the United States over allegations Washington bugged EU offices. It's the latest spying claim leaked by fugitive whistleblower Edward Snowden. The report, published in German weekly Der Spiegel, is likely to strain relations between the US and Europe shortly after they started negotiations to create what would be the world's biggest free trade area. EU Justice Commissioner Viviane Reding warns the long-awaited negotiations could be affected if the bugging allegations prove to be true. The US says it will respond to the EU through diplomatic channels. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. To celebrate Social Media Day, started by Technology and Trends news site Mashable 4 years ago, Rappler holds a Google Plus Hangout with Filipinos who observed, studied, and have made a name for themselves on social media. How far are we in this digital revolution and where is it headed? These are just some of the questions answered. Actress Ji Tonji, who majored in new media in UCLA, says we should be aware of what we post online.
You know, like, once you post something on the internet, it's there. You know, right. And I know that a lot of people who are looking to get hired into the workforce 5-10 years from now, their employers will be able to type their name in and see the partying that you used to do. Your online persona is already becoming your identity.
TV host, model, and writer Victoria Herrera agrees with Ji Tonji.
It's a very personal decision I made to censor myself early on. I know what I want to put out online, and I know what I could put on my journal.
TV and radio personality Casey Montero, who's behind online endorsement company adinfluent.com, thinks social media is moving away from text and leaning towards pictures.
I just think that it's so much easier for someone to look at a picture than it is for them to sit down and type something, for them to actually read. There's a level of concentration that someone has to have to type something and read something. When you write an essay, that's kind of associated with pain, right? When you watch a movie, that's pleasure.
Casey's Ad Influent harnesses the power of celebrity networks, but actress and online sensation Saab Magalona thinks text should not be taken for granted.
I'm scared and I'm excited to say, you know, like with Casey said, with the videos and pictures and no more words. I'm scared, like, is it going to make us dumber? Yeah. Like, I want people to keep reading. But I understand that.
So much more was discussed during the hangout. You can watch it in full on Rappler.com. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories with the most votes on their mood meter. These are the stories that have affected our readers emotionally the most. If you take a look today, interestingly, the story that's gotten the most number of votes is this one. Kill Pilipinas, Language Commission says, and you can see 59% annoyed, 14% angry, 10% happy, and 7% amused. So we're moving from Pilipinas to Filipinas, according to the Language Commission. You can also see the Philippines wants to give U.S., Japan access to bases, part of the discussion we had today with Keizo Takawaka. You have a 39% angry and 57% happy. And still, over the weekend, you have Binay's China trip canceled. A large 63% happy. You can see the green takes over today. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Monday, July 1, 2013. It is halfway through the year. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today. We leave you with images of a demolition attempt along Agam Road in Quezon City earlier today, which turned violent as informal settlers clashed with police.